All right, y'all. When I say these polls are getting worse and worse and worse for Trump, I absolutely mean it. So within just the past 2 weeks, I've seen a 36%er, a 35%er, maybe another like 37 or 39. And we even had the other day, I think it was a Ledger poll, and it was at 33%, y'all. 33. That means, at least in that one poll, he's actually gone lower than the post-January 6th polls. And I need you to understand, this is before the shit really hits the fan. Because we all know what's going to happen now. We all know that the blockading of the Strait of Hormuz is an absolute catastrophe. There's an oil and gas shock, but that also extends to groceries, and that also extends to whatever packages you're getting from Amazon, right? It's an input that goes up for the entire economy. And so we're on the brink of some sort of a depression, global depression. Okay. And right now, gas is $4 a gallon. We haven't hit the bottom yet. It's going to go up and up and up even more. And so even before we get the real impacts of this horrific and illegal war of aggression against Iran, we're already at 33%, dog. We're already there. Now let me give you this new data and buckle up for this ride. So first we go to Harry Enton, the polling guy over at CNN, and he says the following.
We are talking as low as Death Valley. And this, I think, is so key here, which is, Johnny B was pointing out, it is sped up now, but this has been a steady fall into the abyss. There is no bottom. Death Valley, Death Sea, that is how low we are going. And look at this. I think this really just kind of shows it. It is not one event that is dragging Donald Trump down. It's a slew of events that have come together and have continuously dropped his net approval rating. You go back to last year when he was sworn in for a second term, he was at plus 6 points. Then minus 3 points a year ago, minus 7 points 9 months ago, minus 10 points in October 2025, January 2026, minus 13 points. And now all the way down to minus 18 points, a term too low. And what is so key to point out here is, let's just say that somehow we got out of the Iran war tomorrow. Yeah, it might climb a little bit, but we have seen a steady and dropping number that just seems no sign of rising.
And by the way, it is not true that if we got out of the Iran war tomorrow, this would rebound. Because even if Trump tried to taco, even if he wanted to get out of this war, Iran's not going to open the Strait of Hormuz. Why would they? They shut down the Strait of Hormuz and they immediately got dub after dub after dub. They immediately got sanctions lifted on their oil when they did that. Okay? They were trying desperately to get sanctions relief before that through every diplomatic way possible, and it never worked. But as soon as they shut down the Strait of Hormuz, it worked. You know what else they're doing? They're allowing the Chinese ships through, but not allowing our ships through. You know what else they're doing? Trading in yuan, the Chinese currency. You know what else they're doing? Taxing ships that they allow through, making side deals and taxing ships. So they're taking in a tremendous amount of revenue from the tax that they're levying on people. They're taking in a tremendous amount of revenue because their oil sale number has gone up since this war started. So there's zero incentive for them. Even if Trump said, that's it, we reached our goals, we're pulling out, it's all done, it's all good, they would still keep controlling the Strait of Hormuz. People are not getting. Like, the way the world worked before this war is never coming back. That is never coming back. Now we went from a unipolar world to a multipolar world. Already like that. The U.S. can't guarantee maritime trade anymore. We've been exposed as a paper tiger. Okay? So even if he did try to taco, even if he did try to get out of it, there's no doubt Iran would still have the upper hand here, and the economy would still be strangled. The economic depression is still looming, and we're still going to get hit with it. And that minus 18 is going to become minus 21, and then it's going to become minus 26, and then it's going to go up from there.
What's the comparison with his first term in office?
Yeah, I think what's so important to point out here is right now we've seen that steady drop downward. In term one, it was anything but that. Take a look here, the 3-month change in Trump's net approval rating at this point in the term. In term one, he was actually rising at this point. He was actually going up. His 3-month change was up by 5 points. Now we're talking about a 3-month change in which he has fallen to a new term too low, in which he's at minus 18 points. In term one at this point, he was actually higher. Remember, Trump was breaking all those records during term one, right? But at this point, term one, he was at minus 12 points in his net approval rating. He is now 6 points lower than he was at term two, at where he is right now in term two at this point, and he is just continuously falling, while term one, he managed to turn it around. It was actually rising, and there is no sign of any bottom at this point in term number two.
Now, understand, the way it typically works is early in your time in office, that's when your polling is as high as it's ever going to be, right? And you basically get a little bit of a grace period, a little bit of a honeymoon. Maybe it lasts about a year, maybe a year and a half at most. So we're getting to the point where this should be like the honeymoon period, and Homie's numbers already collapsed. They already imploded. They already went down, 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 and down some more, okay? So they're saying, compared to his first term, he went down 5, he went up 5. in the first term. 10-point difference. 10-point difference. Honestly, we've never seen anything like this. And I believe they're going to get to that. They're going to get to that conversation. Ready?
A big, big difference there in Republicans who are running for office in a few months watching this with a lot of trepidation. Let's talk about independents, which has been this group which really has just been eye-popping the last few months.
Eye-popping indeed. This number, if there's one big number from this, is that Donald Trump now has the worst net approval rating among independents of any president ever at this point in term 2. He is worse than Richard Nixon, who would be going adios amigos in a few months back in 1974 in term 2. Look at this, minus 45 points. Worse than George W. Bush at this point in term 2. The Iraq War was weighing him down at minus 37. And worse than Richard Nixon, when, of course, there were all those impeachment hearings back in 1974 at minus 36 points. He's nearly 10 points worse among independents on his net approval rating at this point in term 2, Donald Trump is, than Richard Nixon. My goodness gracious.
To me, the bigger one there is George W. Bush. You're below George W. Bush at this point? Oh, my God, dog. Second term George W. Bush. I mean, we're talking about illegal war in Afghanistan, illegal war in Iraq. It was 2008, the subprime mortgage crisis and Great Recession hit. So we're not at that point yet, or 2007 it happened. But we are talking about Abu Ghraib, Guantanamo Bay. We are talking about massive tax cuts for the wealthy and deregulation and regular people hurting. And he's lower than this point in George W. Bush. My God.
Ida Watergate, we're comparing it to here.
Yeah.
All right, we'll talk about possible collateral damage. I mean, the president can't run again, despite musings there, but what impact might this be having on, say, others close to him?
Others close to him. The Vice President of the United States, chance that J.D. Vance is a 2028 Republican nominee. 6 months ago, he was at a 53% chance. Down he goes. He goes down a 37% chance, according to the Kalshi prediction market. This is tied for his all-time low, J.D. Vance. But, you know, you just go back here. A slow or steady drop, my goodness gracious, with no sign of a bottom. Death Valley.
Bro, I'm telling you, he's taking everybody down with him, too. The whole regime is going to stink to the high heaven. Nobody's going to want anything to do with them at all. Still not done, though. Here we go. Talk about the impact on the midterms.
I would say that House Republicans are running for the exits faster than kids do on the final day of school. I mean, just take a look here. Oh, hello, most House retirements since 1930. So far this cycle, already 36. That is the grand record over the last nearly 100 years. My goodness gracious, that actually beats the former record in total, which was 34 back in the 2018 cycle. And that wasn't that long ago. And I do recall that was a very, very good year for House Democrats. The bottom line is this: you don't run for the exits unless you know trouble is brewing. And House Republicans so far believe trouble is absolutely brewing.
Okay, how do you know that? What does history tell us about these types of exits?
Okay, so, you know, I say it's brewing, and sometimes I just like to pontificate, but sometimes I actually have facts behind me. Let's take a look here. Okay, party with a fewer House retirements since 1982 in midterms. They went on to win the U.S. House 80% of the time. Far fewer Democrats are retiring this cycle than Republicans. When one side runs for the exits, right? I'm doing my best right here, my best Usain Bolt right here. When one side runs for the exits, they lose the House of Representatives. When one side stays put, it's because they think something good is going to happen. And House Democrats clearly think something is good going to happen. And House Republicans clearly think something very bad is going to happen.
Again, we said this is basically a record since 1930, more than we've seen in 100 years. And that's just so far. I mean,
that's just so far. This is, I think, what's so clear is this number is likely to climb ever higher.
Okay, so what are they looking at? Sam Graves last Thursday, and it was a surprise. It was a bit of a reversal. What might he have been looking at that caused him to retire?
You know, some elected officials aren't so smart, but many of them are. And they're looking at the same numbers we're looking at. And what they're looking at is the President of the United States and his approval rating. So why don't we just take a look here? Why are GOP retiring? Okay, when the president's approval is less than 50%, I went back all the way through the record books, all the way back since 1938 in midterm elections. When the House, the Press Party in the House, on average, loses 34 seats. When the president's approval rating is less than 50%. Donald Trump isn't anywhere close to 50%. He's at 40%. The average, the House for the president's party, they lose 34 seats. The least was just 9. That was actually Joe Biden back in 2022.
By the way, he's not at 40%. He's at an average of 37%. Okay, it's even worse than that.
But guess what? House Democrats only need to pick up of 1, 2, 3 in order to gain a majority. So the least, even the worst case scenario for Democrats is not anywhere close to what Republicans need to hold on to the House of Representatives. And one little last historical anecdote as I go over to the blackboard over here. The only 2 times that the president's party did not lose at least 3 seats was 1998 and 2002. You know what the president's approval rating was in those years? It was 60% plus. And Donald Trump at this point is just at a 40% approval rating, nowhere near what House Republicans need. And that is why I said they're running to the exit.
I'm telling you, it's actually good. Okay, ready for this? I got some more. YouGov. How Trump was doing with this age group at the beginning of his term versus now. 18 to 29-year-olds, so young people. He was plus 5 at the beginning. Now he's minus 40. Minus 40. 30 to 44 years old. He was -1 at the beginning of his time in office. Now he's -26. 45 to 64-year-old. So, like Gen X here. He was +15 at the beginning. Now he's -13 with his strongest soldiers. 65 plus, he was -1 at the beginning of his time in office. Now he's -17. New second term low. So, in other words, if you look at the chart here, he's going down with absolutely everybody. And don't get me started on, the gains that he made with minority populations. Gone. Already gone and then some. All the gains with Hispanic voters, gone. All the gains with young voters, gone. All the gains with independents, gone. Gone, and never coming back. Trump is as popular now. He's the most popular now that he'll ever be for the rest of his life. Hear me now, quote me later on that. Okay, continued. Here we go. Trump approval rating among 18 to 29-year-olds in this poll. Only 24% of young people approve of Trump. 24. There was a poll we showed the other day. Only 25% of independents support him. 25. Latest Gallup data on party identification, listen to this, now has 49% of the country identifies as Democrat. Just 39% identify as Republican. So this is the best reading Democrats have seen in over 16 years, since the 2006 to 2009 period, and a 14-point swing from the final quarter of 2024, from the election time. Trump has been so bad over the course of a little over a year. The number of self-identified Republicans dropped 14 points in just that short amount of time. And now we're looking at like the same period where everybody in the country despised George W. Bush with a passion, and during the rise of Obama, you know how Democrats had a massive number of people identifying as Democrats at that time. Now we're back to that level of people identifying as Democrats. Again, to say this man shot himself in the dick is the understatement of the century. He shot himself in the micropenis. That's what he did. Okay, and then I got to give you this too. In our latest Economist YouGov America poll, signs that even Republicans are starting to sour on the Iran war. So let's understand this. Among Trump's cult, yes, they're 95% support or whatever, right? But the question is, how big is the cult, right? So when you broaden it out to Republicans more generally, support for the war has fallen. It was 73% of Republicans supported the war at the beginning, according to this poll. It has now dropped to 62%, a double-digit drop in just like 2 weeks. Approval of how Trump is handling the war has dropped from 81% to 68%. And now just 30% of Republicans favor sending ground troops to Iran. Just 30%. Now, by the way, don't get me wrong. The second Trump does it, this number is going to skyrocket. It's going to be a majority like that. However, in the past, it would have been like, it went from 70% to 100% when Trump did it. Now it's going to be like, it went from 30% to 60%. So they're chipping away, slowly but surely. They're being chipped away. So we're going to learn what Trump's actual floor is. And I always told you guys, it's anywhere between 25% and 33%. Well, guess what? Like I told you, we've already hit a 33% number. So you know what? I was wrong when I said it's 33% is the floor. I was dead wrong, because we haven't even hit the depression yet from this illegal war. When that happens, it's going to go lower than 33. So the bottom line of my range is more accurate than the top line. I'm telling you, we're going to have a 29% banger drop at some point, but it looks like we may even hit like a 25% one. We may hit his actual floor. It's still incredibly disturbing that 25% of people could still support this man, even, if he were to decide to nuke Greenland or something like that. But he's losing serious support. Virtually no Democrats in the country support him. Like 70 to 80% of independents are now gonzo. A lot of apolitical people now hate him too. And we're even getting some irregular Republicans who are not of the MAGA variety that are going, you know what, this is crazy. We got to stop this. So, what they're saying pretty straightforwardly now, this is the worst polling ever that we've seen at this point in somebody's term. And so I think that puts it into perspective, but as you're all about to see, it can get lower. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.